Hello, welcome to The Inclusive. This is Faria, and you are watching another podcast on climate change. We have been recording a lot of podcasts on the impact of climate change. So today we have invited Honor, who is an activist of a very interesting initiative that fights against capitalism. Honor, welcome to the show.
Hi, welcome. Thank you very much for inviting us.
Thank you so much for joining us. So, Honor, tell us about Polen ecology and how does fighting against capitalism is connected with climate action?
Okay. So Polen Ecology Collective was founded in 2019, actually just before the coronavirus pandemic,
Okay.
which was itself one of the major consequences of the global ecological collapse. So our collective was founded with the aim of intervening against actually some deficiencies in the ecology movement in Turkey and northern Kurdistan, and against the wrong understanding of the struggle, like liberal green agendas. So the geography of Turkey and northern Kurdistan is actually one of the most intensely plundered regions in the capitalist division of labor in globally. So there is a great need for a strong ecology movement here. So we believe that the correct way to understand capitalism is a dialectical, materialist way. So that's why we mean a Marxist understanding of ecology. So we argue that the processes of exploitation of labor and plundering of nature are one and same process, and that's why we defend the struggle of working class and the oppressed against capitalism and their ecological struggle also. So the climate crisis is of course directly a result of this plundering of nature, not only an issue of how much emission we emit or how the system push us to live like that, but it's a fundamental property of capitalism that creates this ecological problems.
Hmm. Okay, so what do you think that how has capitalism impacted the world and Earth?
Yeah, I mean, even before capitalism, actually, the slavery society and feudalism, under these social systems, there were, of course, problematic aspects of the interaction of human societies with nature. But at that time, the destructive power of the productive forces of humans at their disposal, were very low. So the impacts on the nature was remained localized. But capitalism, first of all, enabled all these local impacts to be globalized, and first step by step, and then in an accelerating way. So the transformation of capitalism into a world system was, of course, created uneven geographies, but unified. All corners of the world united in terms of ecological impacts, and different forms of oppression during this transformation to capitalism, of course, emerged with capitalism, like racism, colonialism, patriarchy, then imperialism, all integrated into this capitalist order as inherent features. So all of these oppressions over human also created a plunder over nature, and it of course affected ecosystems. And it, that, and climatic conditions since the last 11,000 years was relatively stable for human species to live wherever they want, actually, in the world, in all continents. But with the these greenhouse gas emissions, and with this global warming, this stable climate conditions changed, and now, of course, we have an urgent issue of climate crisis that we call. But this is only one of the aspects of the ecological collapse, actually, because um, uh, this climate crisis affect different regions in the world very differently, and different classes in the society are affected differently. Of course, the working class and the oppressed sections of the society affected heavily, and developing countries, so-called developing countries, actually colonized countries, affected more during this process, not only by the climate crisis, but of course also by the pollution, by the extraction of their raw materials, destroying their forests, rainforests,
Their natural
reducing,
resources.
yeah, reducing their agricultural capacity, polluting their water resources, and so on. So it's not only about climate issue, but a more general ecological collapse that we are living in right now.
So, in my view, industrialization is one of the crime against the natural ecosystem. So, what do you think? What other crimes capitalists or industrialists have committed?
Um, when we say industry, of course, it's not the technology. It's not only about the technology, but it's a mode of production in a capitalist system. So when we think about that, like industry and industrialism, like that, yeah, I mean, a mode of production in capitalism. Of course, it's a thing that exploit labor and, of course, use the nature as free gifts that pushes the limits of nature over its capacity. That industrialism, of course, only means that production for profit, and by seeing the nature as a free gift, as an external resource, it didn't care about its capacity to renew itself. Of course, this affects the reproduction of human societies, because humans are part of the nature and live in that nature, and interact with this nature to sustain their lives. By commodifying everything possible in the world, industrialism, of course, create a horrible situation for the whole species in the world, and including the ones who has to sell their labor force to the capitalists, of course. So to sustain this unsustainable order, of course, industrialists or capitalists, in a more general way, lean on their political power, their state power, their military power, which means military power in the essence, because whether there is a democracy or not, it doesn't matter anywhere in the world, including the Europe or in any other continent. It all comes to the end that the question uh, who runs the state, and the laws applied, whose interests are they favor of. So when we ask these questions, of course, we see that all the system runs around this profit-seeking section of the society, which is even less than 1%, these capitalists, these industrialists, and they, of course, when they are forced to, didn't care about any human rights, and it's a part of class struggle that to defend these human rights in all around the world.
Yeah, yeah. So, as you just said, that they use the world or Earth as a free gift, and they worked here with no responsibility and no care to human rights. So, now, Honor, what do you think that why did not the human rights courts react timely and warn them that there should be a corporate responsibility on these industrialists to use this free gift?
Of course, as I said, I mean, human rights have been won through the history by class struggles. They have never been implemented in a natural way in the capitalist order. There have always been inequalities, and the oppressed social groups have never fully been able to exercise these rights in any way. When there is these in written on the paper, there is these rights, but it was never applied properly anyway. So the structure called the state, with its judiciary, legislative, and political executive powers, actually makes arrangements to ensure the continuity of this order. In this respect, of course, state-affiliated human rights courts, state institutions related to human rights are only activated as a result of pressure of social struggles. So when there is this imperialist contradictions sharpened, and when there is this competition between capitalists increase, everyone forgets about human rights. So whoever commit these crimes only seen with their how much they are successful in profiting, how much
Yes.
successful they are plundering the natural resources and plundering the raw materials. When they plunder successfully, it means they exploit the labor also successfully. It means that they also didn't care anything about human rights. When you look from the outside, from media, the mainstream media, you can see that everything is in order. But it's of course it's just a cover of that these human rights continuously in everyday life is violated day by day,
Hmm.
and we can only win these rights properly, and we can only exercise our rights. When I say we, I mean the working class and the all oppressed sections, women, youth, oppressed religions, and so on, by struggle and by organizing our collective power in wherever possible.
Hmm. So, so Honor, tell me about the movements and the activities Polen Ecology has been doing. I've heard that your team was in Pakistan for a conference. So, what do you people exactly do? Do you arrange conferences, workshops, or in which way do you guys raise activism about natural ecology and to fight against capitalism?
Actually, last December, we organized a conference, not in Pakistan, but in Colombia,
Okay.
called Earth Social Conference, but it was supposed to be organized in Pakistan originally, actually. And we organized this conference as a way of boycotting the official climate summit, COP summit, which was organized in Dubai last year. And to
Yes.
boycott this, we organize an alternative conference, and we, as a international climate groups, climate organizations from all over the world, from Europe, from Latin America, from Africa and Asia, we choose Pakistan to organize this conference firstly, to also protest the previous year's floodings, and many people died in these floods, and to make an awareness about it, we choose Pakistan. But unfortunately, the activists in Pakistan, after we decided to organize in this conference there, of course, are under heavy pressure, state pressure, and they couldn't prepare themselves to logistically and also socially to for this conference, to introduce the conference to all society. They need to make a bigger campaign, but which was prevented by the state, as they say. So we transferred the conference to Colombia. One of the work of Polen do is to collaborate internationally about this, of course, the urgent issue of climate crisis and how we can fight against climate crisis, which means actually fighting against climate crisis for us means fighting against companies and the states who defend these companies rather than the people. So how do we collaborate? How do we organize joint events, joint actions? We collaborate internationally, but of course we are still relatively, as Polen Ecology Collective, a small group, and we now mostly focus on to build ourselves inside in Turkey. And that's why we firstly focus on developing our own theoretical understanding of Marxist ecology. We write in our website many articles. We publish semi-periodical magazine, Polen magazine, which includes not only theoretical articles but also experiences, shared experiences from the resistances all around Anatolia and Middle East. And so we organize webinars, and we just recently opened a new space in Istanbul, Ecology Institute, we call, and to actually unite the academic knowledge with the ecological struggle, ecological resistances in different small cities, small towns, rural or urban. We try to unite these resistances with the academic knowledge, because we believe that there is a gap between this scientific knowledge and the local resistances. We try to unite these different sections to create a more stronger political force against these companies, which actually has all the resources to manipulate this scientific knowledge in their own favor. Of course, we try to expand our work in different areas, including we try to involve some court cases in Turkey, which, for example, there was again a big mining disaster 4 months ago, and 9 workers died, and the pollution caused by this disaster, cyanide pollution, still continuing, and we try to involve in this court process against this disaster, and we want who is involved in this process to be judged and to be punished. And of course, we try to restore this ecosystem, how people still can live there with this poisonous, despite this poisonous chemicals, how to prevent this, for example, these rivers and agricultural areas to be safely protected. Um, yeah, that's what we do in general, but um, we believe that the ecological crisis in general is one of the most important social aspects, social struggles in both right now, but in the upcoming periods. So that's why we try to develop our relations with other social sections also, with the workers' unions, for example, women's collectives, feminist collectives, youth organizations, and different oppressed sections, including, for example, Alevi associations and other local environmental associations. We go there and we organize common events together to introduce ourselves and our theory and our approach, and to draw them into a more united struggle.
Okay, so Honor, you mentioned that Polen Ecology organized a conference in Colombia to boycott the climate summit that held in Dubai. So, if I may ask, what were your demands from the international stakeholders, and what do you think was lacking in that summit to made you boycott that event?
Um, the COP summits, it was the 28th of these series of climate summits. It happens every year, and it only didn't happen because of the coronavirus pandemic once, and it will again this year organized by another fossil fuel country, Azerbaijan, and we will again boycott it, not by organizing another conference this time, but by making a propaganda against their greenwashing tools, against their lobbying through their delegations, with including fossil fuel company administrators. So um, the climate movement, the mainstream climate movement, since the last 40 years, even before the COP, they try to use the negotiation method, negotiation with the United Nations institutions, negotiation with the states, negotiation with the companies. They tried these methods since the 40 years, but we see that it's just a waste of time. It didn't create any change in the climate course. How we are heading towards even a stronger, in a faster way towards more dire climate conditions, despite all their promises. So we see these climate summits as just a way of greenwashing of these who are responsible of this climate crisis, and just actually to negotiate between the countries, between the different sections of capitals, whose interests are defended and whose interests can be compromised. Like, for example, in one country there is a fast transition towards renewable energies, but the same country also having agreements with another country about fossil fuels. So, these green capital try to expand their market in different regions, but the whole infrastructure is built by new raw material extraction and new energy resources. So this whole transition story is a false solution, we believe. So that's why we boycott these COP conferences, and since the last 5 or 6 years, there is a huge awareness in the climate movement who actually make a rupture with this understanding and move towards a more anti-capitalist way, which mostly we see the blockage actions in Europe with the Climaximo from Portugal, Extinction Rebellion, or Ende Galende. These kind of emerging climate groups or ecology environmental groups actually is leading the way and showing that these people are not there to solve, but they are more openly they are criminals.
Is it possible to, to just, diminish capitalism from the world? Is it possible? Do you think that now we can just, reverse the whole system of the world? But if we try to do that, there would be no brand, there would be no, company exist on the world, uh, and then there would be also a negative impact on the lives of the working class who are employed in these companies. So, do you think it's possible?
Of course, transition to socialism from capitalism is not an easy way, and it will take some time, and it will take some ups and downs and many challenges. But even you can see that transition from feudalism to capitalism lasted like 400 years. So we don't have 400 years right now. We have to hurry, that's for sure. Not only because of the climate crisis or ecological collapse, but in general, the whole civilization, how we live as society is in danger. That's why actually I think more or less the whole human species depends on how we can achieve this transition. So it will not be easy, and it will not be all of a sudden everywhere, all at once, all in the world. Of course, it will start within these nation states, as in the history. It's a historical process, and there is no way that we can create out of thin air. We will depend on these historical lessons, how we will achieve these revolutionary processes and how we will organize this huge task. So, but capitalism creates its own grave diggers, proletariat, but not only proletariat, but also the contradictions, the social contradictions itself. The whole commodity chains are globalized or regionalized. So, for example, when we saw a huge waves of uprisings, how it spreads fastly. In 2011, for example, it started in Morocco, no, in Tunisia, but it all spreads throughout the whole West Asia, whole Arab region. This Arab Spring, so-called Arab Spring, the Arab uprisings, and it can, in some countries, it leads to government change. It leads to more democratic governments, but in some, even some backwarded results occurred. So it has both ups and downs, and it will be contradictory process all along the way, and it will require huge sacrifices of peoples. But when we don't do anything against it, it will be worse when we watch only. So the only way we can get along with these sacrifices is to unite and depend on ourselves and depend on our collective powers. And it, of course, needs also a huge emotional resilience, ideological resilience. But we see in many examples, even today in Rojava, in India, in Philippines, in Latin America, many people's struggles going on for longer than like 40, 50 years, and millions of people still support it. And it's the only way to achieve a kind of liberation. and liberation from capitalism is it will be like this also.
Honor, what do you think? In which way the capitalists can serve reparational justice to the world, and what do you think? What are the solutions and strategies to reverse climate change?
Um, the word climate justice is a bit in a danger right now, actually, because even OECD or even the some dictators use this term climate justice. So it's a concept which is in danger turning into a, like, to justify their exploitation and their crimes by some politically responsible sections. So in our view, climate justice can only be achieved through a system change, a revolutionary overthrow of capitalism by the working class. So the climate crisis affects each country differently, of course, and there is an injustice between these countries. And each country, it affects different class strata differently. So there is a social inequality, injustice in that way. But the only just social justice, the climate justice, can we can achieve in this system is just a delay in the actually of the system change. So we believe that solutions like Green New Deals or just transitions or 100% renewable energy or circular economies, techno fixes proposed to reverse climate change, but their claim is only to bring about a recovery by reforming capitalism, which is in a crisis, in a multiple crisis itself. So, in our view, it's in an existential crisis. The capitalism is in existential crisis and cannot be reformed. And all these so-called solutions can only bring a kind of a temporary breathing space for the developing countries, for the imperialist force, not for the colonized countries or developing countries or the dependent countries. So these solutions are not global itself. So what we believe that we only reverse climate change actually by stopping capital, stopping these plundering investments to expand in their investments, stopping these projects can only work to reverse climate change. And of course, organizing these big mass movements. We see these momentum in 2018-19, how it changed the whole discourse of climate change and how people can push these demands against the companies and the state. So the only way is to organize and to fight against these systemic properties of this system. So that's it. The other solutions are greatly insufficient and actually directing manipulating the social understanding into individualistic understanding, like lifestyle changes or recycling or vegan diets or small steps. All of these steps are important, that wherever possible we should implement it, but they are not the solutions to climate change at all. And the only way, like I said, is to stop the expansion of capital in the world.
Thank you so much, Honor. It was great to have you in my show, and believe me, I've learned a lot from you, and I must appreciate your effort to fight capitalism and the way you guys are providing free information and knowledge to the masses in Turkey and all over the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You can reach us from our website and social media anytime possible, and we all are open to collaborate anyone possible.
Thank you.